Ralph Benson Memorial Gymnasium. For half a century, it has been the home for Lawrence County High School basketball. While generations of Wildcats and Ladycats have left their sneaker mark on the Mickey Dunn court, there was one team halfway through the life of this hallowed hall that would rise above every challenge, would exceed every expectation, and would simply not be denied their goal of forever being labeled state champions.
And people have been telling me all week, what they love about the Lady Cats is they find a way to win.
Near capacity crowd at Ralph Benson Memorial Gym in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. This is unusual. We'll probably have the biggest crowd in the state of Tennessee, I think, tonight for a sub-state game anywhere. And that's quite a tribute to the people of Lawrence County.
To celebrate the silver anniversary of this indelible event, several contributors have returned to the hardwood floor at the Ralph to tell their story, a first-hand account to relive and to never forget, so future generations that wear the purple and gold will know what it was like when the sport of women's basketball united an entire community and threw one big party on the square. This is the story of the 1998 Lawrence County Lady Cats. Now, let's meet the cast, who have returned to share their memories from that unforgettable season.
Kayla Goodwin. It's now Kayla Bryan. I wore number 23, and I was a senior guard.
Katie Smith. Now I'm Katie Busby. Was a junior point guard, number 33.
My name is Brandy Bean. I'm now Brandy Hodge. I was number 44 on the state championship team, and I was a post player.
All right, I'm Mel Saxon. I was a senior the year we won the state. I was a guard, and I was number 24.
Wendy Scott. I was number 35. This is my junior year, and I played mainly a post, but I did play on the wing some too.
My name is Willie Joyner. I was fortunate enough to be head coach of the 1998 Lady Cats basketball team here at Lawrence County High School.
Hi, I'm Stacy Vickroy. In '98, I was Stacy Childress, and the assistant girls basketball coach with Coach Joyner and the Lady Cats.
I'm Jim Thompson, color commentary for girls basketball in '98. My daughter played Bryn, and then I coached golf here too.
I'm Beth Bowling, now Beth Smith, and I was a junior cheerleader the spring of '98.
Courtney Alexander, I'm now Courtney Dillard, and I was a junior cheerleader as well in the spring of 1998.
Hello, I'm Daryl Boston, and I was the band director, co-band director here in 1998, our championship season.
My name's Elliot Clayton, and I was a bus driver for the championship games, and before that too, and I guess for 20 years I drove them around.
So I remember Brandy because we were both freshmen at the same time, and she had just moved in from Winchester.
5'11" senior, transferred here from Franklin County High School when she was in the 9th grade.
Brandy Bean. Brandy was the funny one.
Brandy brought a lot of comedy to the team.
Brandy Bean started here as a freshman, and I know her mom had talked to me, that Brandy was going to be moving here. And, I'm listening to her mom, and her mom's telling me how good she is and what a good basketball player she is. But yet, when Brandy got here, everything that her mom had told me about her and more was true.
Brandy Bean. You could feed the post, up high, down low, upside down, and she would catch the pass.
And Brandy had range as well. She could score most of her points in the paint, but Brandy could hit a three.
She could score from the inside, and she could step back and hit the three.
Now Bean pulls out to the top of the circle, a three by Brandy. It's good.
She caused severe matchup problems for the other team.
Play to Kayla Goodwin, back to Brandy. Brandy's going to jump at the top of the circle. It's good.
And I felt like we worked really well together. I always looked for her in the post, and I just felt like we kind of clicked. We knew what each other was thinking quite a bit, and so she was a lot of fun to play with.
Brandy was, a good rebounder, good position player, a good shooter. She was just a good all-around player. But Brandy was a good one. I enjoyed Brandy.
I remember our first game In her freshman year, we were playing at Giles County. I want to say she led us in scoring that night, but it was just like her coming out party to Lawrence County. And everybody got to see what a special talent she was, but just the fact that we were going to have her for 4 more years was also just a tremendous boost.
I just remember us all piling up in her little Mitsubishi vehicle, and we thought, you know, we were big stuff getting to ride with her all over town.
Defensive specialist Kayla Goodwin. Kayla was the soul of that defense.
Kayla was our defensive stopper. That was the role that she served, and she took great pride in that role.
When she was on defense, I mean, she was like a fly. She was all over them.
2-2 all tied. They fight for the ball. Lawrence County came up with a steal.
For Lincoln County. Here's a steal by Kayla Goodwin. Boy, okay, here's a steal by Kayla Goodwin. Goodwin's going to drive down. Her layup, good. Kayla Goodwin got the steal and got the basket.
I would describe her as a perfectionist. I mean, she just always wanted to do everything that you told her to do. She was going to work hard at everything that she did. She was a tremendous student, a very good student, and that poured over into basketball.
Kayla was our smart one.
I want to congratulate Kayla. Salutatorian over Lawrence County High. Boy, isn't that great?
Kayla does almost everything perfect. Her teachers over here are so complimentary of her and talk about what a wonderful student she is. Kayla Goodwin, playing her senior year.
You know, we all thought she should shoot a little bit more.
She was such a perfectionist. You know, if she missed a shot or two, she would just quit. I mean, she'd quit shooting. And I always had to tell her, look, you can shoot the ball. And she was a great shooter. She did a great job.
Saxon to Goodwin. She's open. Her shot good.
Again, in a scouting report, if you're the other coach scouting us, you're not going to talk about Kayla a whole lot. But you're going to wish you had.
Katie gives to Goodwin. She'll put it up. Good. She doesn't shoot the ball often, but I tell you, and for everybody I just seen how the ball was Kayla Goodwin.
Always, or most of the time, drew the other teams, one of their best players.
We would put Kayla on their point guard most of the time, and Kayla was just a pest.
Because Amanda Cannon, how many times she had to guard her.
Cannon spins at the top of the circle, guarded closely by Kayla Goodwin at violation. 5-second call.
Allison Clark 1 year.
Lawrence County has gone the first 7 minutes, and Allison Clark, Miss Basketball candidate, has not taken a shot yet. Great defense by Kayla Goodwin.
She knew that if she shut down the other team's best player, then, you know, that was just as important as the points that were scored.
I mean, I can remember girls slapping her off of them. She was just on them all the time and so intense, and she was so smart she could do that without fouling.
I mean, Kayla's obviously gone on to become an anesthesiologist, I think, now. So, I mean, and salutatory in that year, her senior year, none of that surprises me. Any amount of success that she has had doesn't surprise me.
Earlier, Kayla was one of my good friends starting off, you know, here as a freshman, and I remember trying to sit down and figure out my schedule, and they were like, okay, you have to take a foreign language, and I remember asking Kayla, like, what are you taking, you know, and at that time, I don't think I knew how smart she was. I don't think I knew her academic standing. I didn't care about all that, you know, and she was like, well, I'm gonna take Japanese.
They took Japanese together, so they were trying to teach us a little Japanese. It is not an easy language to do, so I give them props for learning that. You know, like when you get in the huddle and you say 1, 2, 3, hustle or team, lots of times we would say ichi ni san gambate. 1, 2, 3, hustle in Japanese. Kayla had taught us all that. So.
Oh goodness, Brandy Bean and I, we took Japanese together, and it was a remote class, so the teacher was on a video, I think in Texas if I remember. We had a lot of fun in that class. I don't remember any Japanese. She probably does. Okay, I know just about one phrase. I hope it's that phrase.
Moshi moshi, donata-sama desu ka? Kayla-san?
That's the phrase, and I think it's, hello, how are you, Kayla? I wonder if that's the only one she remembers.
Melody Saxon was just a really great player. She was just a great teammate.
and she was just such a good teammate.
Melody Saxon was a great teammate.
She was what I would call a late bloomer.
But I know at one point I talked about that skinny little kid out in Prospect I saw about 5 years ago, and looked at her and I thought, I don't know, I just don't know. She was all over the floor, just wild as she could be. And y'all know that didn't change a whole lot.
Melody was the player that probably didn't get as much credit as anybody else of the starting five, but it enabled her, I think, to draw maybe a weaker defender, and she always made them pay.
From E.O. Kaufman. Here's a steal by Mel Saxon. Saxon's going to dribble down quickly. Saxon put it up. Her layup, good.
She was always hustling. She'd be on the floor, diving through, just working hard.
In drive, she's in trouble. Katie needs help. Mel Saxon's layup, good, and a foul.
She got those sneaky rebounds.
And she had such great instincts. She would get rebounds that you wouldn't expect. She would create turnovers. She was on the floor after loose balls. But her instinct showed she just could find the open spot.
We would be in games and it was just like right when we needed somebody to come up with a steal, Mel would just like come out of the blue and come up with a steal. I can just remember her just being in the right place at the right time so many times, and she was such a good three-point shooter.
Here's a three by Saxon. This one's good, isn't it?
She worked really, really hard, but she really came on in her junior and senior years and was just really an important part of our basketball team.
I really can't think of a bad thing, to say about Mel. She was just the ultimate teammate and, who just came and did her job every day. Katie was a competitor. She always wanted to be the best, no matter who we were playing. If she stepped foot on the floor, she was there for one thing, and that was to win.
Aggressive. She was a very good defensive player. She was all over whoever she was guarding.
Here's a steal by Smith. Katie Smith with the steal, driving in for the layup, and it's good. Yeah, that's Katie's 108th steal of the year. She's got over a third of all the steals. We've got 306 steals now. She got 108 of them.
There was one practice that I sat and did rebounding for Katie Smith, and she shot 100 straight free throws.
We depended on her a lot. She was our point guard, and your point guard just has a lot of responsibility in running the offense and in setting things, and she did a tremendous job with that.
A great ball handler, could score, and just instinctually, she certainly had an eye for the ball. She would get rebounds and could jump out of the gym. She jumped center for us.
She was a great jumper, so she was usually the one who would jump for us on jump ball.
She was one of the few point guards that would always jump center.
She does, the people don't realize she lulls you to sleep. She stands there like she's not paying any attention whatsoever, and about the time you let go of it, she's gone, and she's breaking into the lanes. It's something defensive backs learn to do in football, but she knows how to do it in basketball. I always thought she'd make a great safety.
Coach Laxon, our football coach, said, I think I could use her as a defensive back the way she was playing in the middle of that press.
Katie's got the layup. It's good. Katie really took her time on that layup and made sure she made that one. Here's your steal again by Katie Smith and another layup. Katie got another layup with a steal. There's another steal and a layup. Katie got the steal.
But she was going to have your back too in a game. If anybody messed with you, we could always count on her to take care of it for us.
You're right. Katie's got a big knot on her head, and she's already had her lip cut earlier in the first half.
She was very versatile. She could shoot the three. She was a great driver. She could post up. She was a great defender, and she worked. She was in the gym all the time. She was a gym rat.
Hartsfield's open. She'll shoot that one. Smith for sure. Top of the key. Nailed it.
Okay, Katie Smith in the corner. She's open. Her shot. Bang. Back to Katie Smith. Katie's going to drive the baseline. A jumper. Good. Lawrence County with a lead.
In practices, she always pinched me. She always pulled my shirt. She was all over me in practices.
Smith, she'd reach up there and you give them a big old pinch, and they'd come at her, and she'd jump back with her hands up,
So I would get so irritated, but it made me a better player. And I know that's why she did it. It was just part of the game, and she could do it to me because we were such good friends.
Like, she was a scrawny, skinny thing. You looked at her, though, without the ball in your hand, and you'd be like, nah. But then you put a ball in her hand, and it's a different person. You're like, oh, I see what the fuss is about now.
Well, Wendy, we used to nickname her Heart, like her heart. I mean, she played with all she had, every game, every practice, and if we weren't, she would call us out.
She was a kind of a player coach to me at the time. She was smart. She knew where everybody was supposed to be. She didn't mind telling them that's where they were supposed to be.
Obviously, grew up with a dad who coached her to play basketball, and she, took it very serious.
Wendy was definitely a leader. So the first word that comes to mind is leader and grit.
Wendy was just a gritty player.
And gift to Goodwin. Goodwin under there to Hartsfield. Her shot good and a foul.
With Wendy, I mean, she played forward, so you would have a forward guarding her, but she could shoot the daylights out of the three-pointer.
In the corner to Hartsfield, a three, bang! Here's a shot by Hartsfield in the corner, a three and a beauty. Get a piece of it going out of bounds. Hartsfield running a three, that is good.
She was versatile. I mean, when I would substitute, sometimes I would move her from the post out to the wing, and so she had to be able to play both those positions, and she did it exceptionally well.
County had it stripped, taken away by Brandy Bean. Bean to Hartsfield. Wendy's got one-on-one. She's going to drive in, put it up, good.
Beautiful move. Girls aren't used to other girls right-handed suddenly switching their left hand and going to the basket as well as Wendy does. It just caught the girl off guard.
I remember that spin move she used to use all the time on the drive. It comes to mind. That was probably in some of the other coaches' scouting reports, I imagine.
Spin move, Wendy. Whenever she would catch the ball, she would drive, and the other team, the coach, the players, everybody on the other team would start hollering spin move. And even though they knew it was coming, they couldn't stop it.
I've seen Wendy coach, and it was amazing to watch her. I mean, she was fantastic. It reminded me a lot of Nikki, and I know she and her dad have coached together, so it doesn't surprise me at all that she's a coach, and a great coach.
I totally see her as a coach now. I feel like I always knew she would be a coach. It's in her family a little bit for one, but she was a little coach on the sidelines with us.
Wendy's she's one of a kind. She's been to some good places, coached at some good places, and I'm glad she's back home.
Anytime one of us guards were either in foul trouble or not having a good game, he would bring in Miranda. Miranda, I believe, was a sophomore.
Yeah, Miranda, sweet kid, good shooter, smooth. Any other team in the state, she would have started. But on that team, she was the sixth player and a really good one.
She was also crucial during practice. She was who, was guarding Katie and Mel and Kayla, one of them, to prepare us for the games.
Miranda Wallace was just a very quiet but yet intense player.
She was very quiet. She was the quiet one.
It's a little bit timid. I always thought if Miranda, and I can relate as a player, I was too timid in high school and shy, so I recognized it in her immediately.
If Kayla got in foul trouble, she would come in for Kayla. If Mel got in foul trouble, she would come in for Mel. If it was Katie, she may come in and then I would move somebody else to the point. Miranda was always versatile in that area. And I know she had some big buckets for us.
And here's Miranda Wallace gonna gun a three. Good at the buzzer.
She filled in, for whoever she was subbing for seamlessly. It was like really it wasn't a sub.
And Kim did that. Kim Luke served in that role in the post.
Good old Kim. That's probably the one I know the most because of playing college ball. Playing at Freed, and then she played at Martin Methodist, so we actually had to play against each other. Kim probably was more successful than any of us in college, going on to Martin Methodist.
Well, she's a triplet. And when they transferred here from Giles County, they were like, "Ooh, there's three of them? Where are the other two?"
If one of our post players got in foul trouble, she would come in and give us some minutes there.
Here comes Kim Loop into the game, and what a pleasant surprise Kim's been.
She might get the rebound and take off dribbling, or, she could post up, and she was so long.
She was just lovable. She was, and just goofy.
We didn't lose a lot of ground when we subbed, and there's a lot of teams that did.
Goodwin gives to Trish Rowling. Rowling's going to drive in, give to Loop at the free throw line. Good.
Those five starters played the overwhelming majority of the minutes, but there are always going to be times, you know, foul trouble, injuries, that you have to have somebody to come in.
Wallace into Kim Loop, a banker, good!
Imagine if we hadn't had Miranda or Kim to come off the bench.
Kim and Miranda just did a great job of filling those roles.
Coach Joyner, great man. He was always a good Christian influence. He was probably the calmest coach I've ever been around, both at practice, games, halftime. I never remember him really getting riled up.
I mean, he's a wonderful guy. He's like, obviously, we were almost around him more than we were on our own dad. So he's a dad away from home. Obviously, if anytime we ever had any issues or anything, we could go to him. So really enjoyed having him as a coach.
Well, when I look back, I guess I think of Willie Joyner in the context of other coaches, and I have to say he was a very positive coach. He was a very supportive coach, passionate, emotional, but very, very supportive and caring. He would push it to the limit, but he would do it in, I think, the most positive way possible.
Coach Joyner I remember being intimidated at first when I first got to high school. He was kind of scary. You know, even though he was hard on us in practice, we knew that he loved us, even though, you know, he didn't have to say it. He showed that he cared about us in multiple ways. He believed in us, and we could always tell that he believed in us. Not only a great basketball coach, but just a great role model for us as well, on and off the court.
I have appreciation for him as much as anything, for giving me the opportunity to get involved with coaching.
He had two little ones, Hannah and Fowler, and of course they were just gym rats and hung out.
I would describe Coach Joyner as a family man. We always loved having his wife around and his kids. They would always travel on the bus with us. So that, to me, as a parent now, says that, you know, he cared a lot about his family and they were involved in everything he did. He's a godly man for sure. We prayed before games.
So I was in Coach Joyner's advanced math class this semester.
I was in there too.
The semester that we were in state tournaments, and we had a pretty easy semester. I do remember a very distinct moment sitting at my desk working on whatever I was doing, and he just had his hands in his hair, and you could tell he was focusing on basketball.
His mom happens to be Marion Joyner, my favorite teacher. If anyone ever asked that question, who's your favorite teacher ever, it's her.
You know, when I was growing up, my mom had played on the 1958 Loretta State Championship team, and I heard about that tournament run all of my life, and that, I think, added some excitement to us. I actually had my mom come down and talk to the girls one afternoon during practice. It was 40 years to the year from the time that they had won the 1958 championship. So that was a special thing that my mother and I had.
At the end of some of the games, I would start playing that theme song, na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye. And he came to me after one game and he's like, Mr. Boston, I understand what you're doing and I appreciate your enthusiasm. He says, but I wished you wouldn't play that because that's kind of belittling the other team. He says, I've been on the other end of some of those games. And he says, I just don't want to treat people the way we've been treated. And I said, Coach, you know, you're right. And that taught me a lot about his character, and from listening to some of the team members talk, what a great guy he really is.
Coach Willie Joyner, great career record. Won 9 the first year, 14 the second year, 21 the next year. Last year, the Lady Cats won 24. This year, he's already 9-2. Playing against some of the top teams in the nation.
Coach Willie Joyner has been named Coach of the Year 2 out of the last 3 years.
He played for me in one of the 2 times I coached. Willie was a good player. He'd do anything you asked him. He knew sometimes, I could tell, sometimes he knew more about what I was trying to do than I did. But Willie's a good basketball coach. I kind of hated that he got out of it, but, you know.
Coach Childress brought a lot more intensity than what we were used to.
Coach Childress just brought a lot of enthusiasm and motivation to our team. I can always remember the talks that she had with us. She loved to inspire us.
Coach Stacy Childress, the girls called her Chili. She came to us the year before our state tournament run. And I think one of the areas where Stacy was such a tremendous asset to us She loved lifting weights and working out, and she got the girls on a program. That 97, 98 year, we were a lot stronger than we had ever been, and that is due to Stacy and to her workout program that she had.
But she was a great motivator. She started out, that summer helping us with training, and she would work on our workouts with us.
Then once Coach Childress came along, she took us out to Body Works. We had a program, and she really pushed that aspect.
The girls bought into it. The girls took a lot of pride in it, and I feel like that helped us avoid a lot of injuries. I feel like we were in the best shape we could be, and again, they had to play a lot of minutes, and so that all goes back to, I think, Stacy's commitment to keeping them in shape and working them hard.
She was just as eager to get out there and start coaching with us. I remember a story where she said she was sitting in the stands at MTSU watching the state tournament one year, and was like, I will be there with this team. And sure enough, we were there.
She would always send us like motivational quotes and talk about certain meanings of those.
She also, I know, would write like little quotes and things like on our lockers and kind of try to inspire us, and put up pictures of, like female athletes to try to inspire us.
I remember kind of being thankful that I wasn't on JV when she first came, because she, the JV players would practice with us 2 hours, and then she would have practice for the JV team for another 2 hours.
And I can still remember times that she would write me a card or, leave a note in my locker just to give words of encouragement.
I think her and Coach Joyner meshed very well with one another, which is obviously an important aspect of coaching. Every time we go on vacation, when we go to near her, we always go out to eat, and her and Sam have kindly spoiled both of my children.
And your physical conditioning is one aspect that everyone can control, regardless of your level of talent. My thought was, we want to definitely be responsible for taking care of the factors that we can control. There's some things we can't. We had such a wonderful, supportive booster club that year that helped, build up the weight room. I moved back to Lawrence County a few years prior and got a job at Etheridge Elementary School, my first teaching job. Didn't plan to become a coach. The principal asked me at that time if I would coach the boys basketball team. I said, do I have to coach the boys to get the job? He said yes, because whoever we hire has to coach the boys. We have to fill that spot. I said, okay, I'll do it. But it was how I got into coaching. I knew that there was some talent coming up that was going to be coming here to the high school program. Coach Joyner was coaching here, and long story short, I reached out to him and I said, hey, do you need some help? Because I really enjoy coaching.
Foxy Griffin was the biggest supporter of girls basketball in our area that you would ever meet.
Foxy loved his Lady Cats.
Foxy he was something else.
I still work at Frisbee's Apothecary on the weekends some, even though I'm a teacher. I work for Steve Frisbee still. I started when I was 15 working for him. He was a huge Lady Cat supporter. And so I would see him occasionally, like when I would work, and he would walk in, Brandy Bean, just the way he said my name, it was just the best.
Brandy Bean with a good play right there.
Foxy knew what was going on in the bleachers.
Katie Smith at the free throw line. Her shot good. Katie hit it. Saw Katie's granddad, W.O. Smith, here.
Maybe Brandy's grandma, Edna Brewer, might be tuned in tonight, Jack. She likes to hear these games.
Yeah. Well, there's so-and-so. Now, I think she just got back from Florida last week. It looks like she's got a pretty good tan.
Well, there's Nell and Cromer Smotherman again. They must like this Wildcat basketball.
Broadcasting with him, it was hard for me to get used to that for a while. And that's when I think I kind of held back for a long time. When we got to the state tournament, something would happen, he'd be on one of his stories, and I would just shout something out.
Saw Brandy's grandma here and Brandy's mom. Mel Jackson for three!
And I know it bothered him at times, and I don't think I ever apologized to him for that, but I wish I had. One of the Foxy stories was that they had a real bad night one night at the foul line. And then Foxy got on during the boys' game, was interviewing Willie like he does at halftime.
We had a terrible night from the free throw line. And I sat down, put my headset on to talk to Foxy about our game. And he said, "Coach, do you ever practice free throws?" And I said, "Well, yes, Foxy, we do. It didn't show tonight, but yes, we do."
He said, "Willie, Coach, y'all ever practice shooting free throws?" And Willie was like, No, we never shoot free throw. Why would we want to do that? You know, it was just, but it was, and Willie will still talk about that if you ask him.
Even after I became a coach, as a coach, you hear so much negative and you hardly ever hear anything positive. And I loved running into him in town because he would always, he always just tells me something positive.
I can't imagine another voice doing the games, broadcasting them and stuff. He was special.
A lot of people enjoyed that year, but I don't know that anybody enjoyed it more than Foxy.
Mickey, there's so much to say about Mickey. I still can't believe he's gone. January 26th, 2020, I think, is when he died.
There is no other like Mr. Dunn. I mean, he's just not replaceable.
Mr. Dunn, I think still to this day, I have been a teacher at a lot of schools, and he leads the best pep rallies of any administrator I've ever seen.
I never understood how awesome our pep rallies were in high school until I wasn't here anymore and I saw other schools do pep rallies, and I thought, God, Mr. Dunn was the best pep rally coordinator of all time.
He loved his pep rallies, but those, man, he had that deep voice too that would just get you fired up.
Where they go, Lawrence. Get down here.
You gotta have a little fun at the end of counting. He said, count it! Count it!
Wild.
Wild! That ain't loud. I want to hear it. Wild!
Cats. And then they keep going faster. And then Mickey Dunn keeps leaning back further and further. Lawrence County, wild.
Mickey Dunn, a phenomenal individual, a very supportive principal. It didn't matter if you were in the band, sports, or playing tiddlywinks, he was always there. And he really instilled in each of us, from students all the way through the faculty and staff, that being a Wildcat is being in a family.
Mickey Dunn was a part of my life for a long time. And it's hard for me to describe just how much he means to me. Just the confidence that he had in me and in giving me the job. Mickey has had an impact on the way I treat coaches, and the way I've dealt with coaches, and the way I've dealt with students, and the way I've dealt with student athletes. A lot of that goes back to the example that he set for me as a young coach.
Mickey was a good teacher. That's the only thing about him being principal. You hated to see him leave the classroom.
And he came into the locker room after the games, and he was there to celebrate, every accomplishment that we ever had. But I remember when he was there after the losses.
Katie and Wendy were freshmen, which Kayla, Mel, and Brandy would have been sophomores. We had finished 4th in our district, and we advanced to the regional tournament, played White County, really good basketball team from out of District 7. And we carried them to overtime, but we lost. And I remember Mickey coming into our locker room after that game, talking about how as a coach, when he was coaching, he had a team that he thought had the potential to get to the state tournament, but they never made it. And he looked at all those girls and he said, "Y'all are going to take me there." And I never will forget that, and I know they didn't. And again, he was just a tremendous mentor, just a tremendous principal, just an all-around great guy.
And same thing after I became a coach here. I mean, he was in that locker room after wins to help us celebrate, and then he was there to also encourage us after we had just lost.
It is our pleasure to announce that Ralph Benson Memorial Gymnasium will now include the Mickey Dunn Corps for future generations to know of his contribution in the Lawrence County and Lawrence County High School. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mickey Dunn Corps.
He didn't have to tell us because he did lead by example. Phenomenal individual. I miss him greatly.
You know, most of the kids just love, you know, Mickey. And it's hard to believe he's gone.
Principal Mickey Dunn would occasionally publish writings known as the Desk of Dunn about his favorite memories of Lawrence County High School or about current events at the school. And we will occasionally refer to a particular Desk of Dunn release from April of 1998 when he shares his favorite memories of that 98 championship run.
My earliest memories of basketball are at Rotary Park at the Youth Center. And my first year, my 9-year-old year, Nikki Hartsfield had a team, but Nikki was going to pick me on his team, and he picked Angelica Smith instead of me. And so I got on a completely different team, and my dad had to coach.
I was able to have a lot of experiences growing up that kind of helped shape and mold me. My dad was my coach most of the time, and then I had Anthony and Michael were my coaches in AAU, and then my dad was able to coach me at Kaufman too in middle school.
Smith brings the ball down the floor, passes to Hartsfield with a good head fake. She scores on the way up. With the rebound, Katie Smith gets it, shoots, and it's good.
And then I played at the Youth Center, and that is actually where I met Wendy Hartsfield. And Ingram Sow is where I met Katie Smith.
So, me and Kayla and Katie played together at Kaufman.
Jump shot, one-hander, good. That's Hartsfield.
Mel, she was at New Prospect, and Brandy was still in Franklin County.
My dad and my mom, neither one had ever played basketball. We had moved from a house that we were out and started attending New Prospect. They had a blacktop out there with some basketball goals, picked one up, started playing, enjoyed it, went home, told my dad, hey, I want to play basketball, and it just started from there.
Around 10 years old, I tried out for the AAU team in Winchester, Franklin County. Coach Jack Harlow was actually over the league and had several coaches that helped him. So I played for him actually for a few years during my middle school years. I went on to North Junior High, and I played at North Junior High my 7th and 8th grade year.
We wanted new uniforms, and I don't guess the school had money to buy them or whatever, so Pam brought her sewing machine to practice every day.
And then I remember our parents, our mothers, sitting in the bleachers sewing our uniforms.
Yes, we had so much fun together. We were able to start out playing together at a young age, and I think that played a part in how good we were as we got older because we had been playing together for so long.
You know, our first 3 years, we never made it to state or sub-state or anything.
I think one of the things that kept us from getting to the state tournament before 97, 98 was also one of the things that helped us to win it. And that is we've just played in a tremendously tough district.
We began the season ranked preseason number 11 in the nation. And I know as soon as I saw that, a couple of the girls brought it in that morning, and I looked at it and I went, yes. And then I went, ooh. And I thought, I don't see any more Tennessee teams in there. I guess that means they think we're the best in Tennessee.
That was a lot to deal with as you are preparing to play in the toughest district in the state of Tennessee.
And I do remember feeling a little bit more pressure of, oh wow, we are considered one of the best teams.
I remember giving them just what I call the goal sheet. And I said, look, you can fill this out. Nobody's gonna see it but me. In that, a lot of the girls were like, hey, let's win the district, let's win the regional, let's win the state.
Yes, and when we sat down and set those goals, you know, of winning the state championship and getting that done, I just felt like our hard work, surely our hard work, you know, could accomplish that.
I don't ever remember saying we just wanted to get there. Regardless of what anybody else thought, I think we thought we were going to win.
Oh, my expectation going into that last season was that we were going to win it all.
You know, as we began the season, you know, Mr. Dunn was a tremendous support, and this was an idea that he had. He came to me and he said, you know, hey, the regional tournament's going to be in Murphy Center. He said, let's try to schedule a game there. And I had contacted Father Ryan, who was one of the better teams in Division II. Asked them if they would meet us at Murphy Center to play a game there. I mentioned Mr. Dunn because he's the one that made that happen, because that did cost some money to rent out that facility. It was very empty that day. Very few folks there. It was over Thanksgiving holiday, if I remember correctly.
Probably just our family was at that game since it was so far away.
I think was important for us to be able to go in that gym, hoping to be back later.
Okay, I think growing up in Franklin County, going back to play at the high school there was always hard. In middle school and elementary, I always saw myself being a rebelette, you know.
Yeah, Brandy grew up here, of course.
I think just, you know, that game was always hard, but it was also special, you know, just being able to see those girls again and play against them.
I recall going to Columbia and us having a really good game, but when Columbia came here, it didn't go as well. We were down, I want to say we were down about 10 at one point, and thankfully Columbia started a kind of a double stack stall game, and they just kept turning it over and turning it over.
To the top of the circle, be bothered. Cherie threw it away, a turnover. Katie Smith forced the turnover.
Brandy converted a 3-point play that put us up, and it was over after that.
Into Brandy, a turnaround jumper, good, and a foul. Brandy hit the jumper and a foul.
And we held on and were able to sweep them during the season, and that was big.
My favorite place to play, besides our home gym, home court, had to be Loretta.
Year before last, Katie Smith had 29 points down here at Loretta as a 9th grader.
She dominated Loretta. I mean, I think they could have triple teamed her and it would not have worked.
None of us even had to show up when we played Loretta. She dated Jason at the time, and I mean, she would get so motivated, and for those games, I mean, it was just like, we just give the ball to her and she's just gonna go off. I mean, I literally think we could have just played 1-on-5 on those games.
Brandy, back to Katie. Katie will gun a 3, good.
When we went to Loretta, Katie was just kind of unconscious that night.
42 seconds, Katie's gonna gun a 3, bang, it's good. Katie Smith's got 3 of those.
The crowd hated me.
Back up, a shot blocked by Katie Smith.
And I loved that.
Lady Cats have won 9 and lost 2. A 3-pointer by Katie Smith, it's good.
She hit 5 or 6 threes. I think she hit every one that she took. I mean, she was just on fire that night.
Lawrence County with a big lead. Here's Katie Smith jumping. Is that a 3-pointer? Another 3 up. It's the 5th 3 from outside. So she's got, what, 19?
I wish I could play every game like I played at Loretta.
There's times that I probably said to her at one time or another, you know, just Katie, just imagine we're playing Loretta, would you?
She surpassed 1,000 points for her career during that game that night.
Katie scored her 1,000th point the other night at Loretta High School on Tuesday night. Katie's now presenting the ball to her mom, Cindy. 12 games into her junior year is the earliest anybody at Lawrence County High School has ever reached 1,000 points.
It's great because I can look back at my 1,000-point ball now, and Loretta is stamped in it. You know, so it's their ball.
The Marshall County game, their game plan against us, home and away, was, I think, to beat us up.
Yeah, Katie caught an elbow right in the mouth.
Honestly, I feel like that they were some of the most physical players that we went against that year.
We had some confrontation in one game, in particular against Marshall County, and we got behind.
And the first half had not gone well. So we were all in the locker room at halftime. The coaches had not come in, and I can't remember how it happened. Katie and I got in a fight.
So as the assistant coach, I would always go into the locker room before Coach Joyner to make sure everyone was good and ready for him to come in and speak to the team. I remember walking in that door, and what I see when I walk in is Wendy, in between Kayla and Katie, had a hold of them like this.
I threw a water bottle at her, actually.
When I walked in, honestly, I think it was an orange or maybe a water bottle or maybe both had gotten thrown across the room.
I just kind of took over that game and, you know, basically was going off on everybody and making sure that we knew that, you know, we have goals and we're going to have to get over this and move on.
Yelling something to the effect to both of them. Now, I said, both of you quit it and sit down and shut up, or something to that effect.
After that, we both got real emotional. The whole team got emotional, and the coaches came in. They could tell something had happened, but they didn't know what had happened.
Because after I walked in, they sat down. I'm like, I don't know what just happened right here, but we have a second half to play, and I'm about to go get Coach Joyner. So I'm going to either tell him what just happened, or you all are going to continue to work this out, and I'm not going to. So that's up to you.
And they gave us the speech.
And they were all just had a different look on their face. You know, they normally have at halftime, so he gives his halftime speech and, you know, coaches them. We walk out, and I know Coach Joyner looks at me, and he's like, what's going on? He sensed something. I went, oh, they'll be all right, Coach.
And then we went out in the second half, and boy, oh boy, I don't think there had ever been better teamwork in the second half of that game.
And fortunately, they came out, and they were fine. You know, they shared the ball.
But nothing like that had ever happened. But in the end, it kind of was a bonding moment.
You know, every team has conflict throughout the season. We hardly ever had any, but that was one moment that we look back on now and laugh at it. But to be honest, it really brought us together more than it did anything else, and kind of got us refocused.
Who's the one to stand up and break them up? I would have predicted it would have been Wendy. She didn't have any fear, you know, and this I hope that this program here recognizes that about her as a coach. She's not afraid of anything.
Marshall County, you know, I still don't know what all happened there. You know, the 97-98 season, we played in a Christmas tournament in Pickerington, Ohio.
Yeah, Christmas tournament, you're like, oh, we're gonna go somewhere nice. Nope, you go up north where it's cold. Pickerington, Ohio. It was the first time a lot of us had flown.
I remember it was the first time I had ever been on an airplane. I remember being in the airport and laying around waiting, you know, on our flight.
We flew to Ohio. Most of the girls never been on an airplane before.
I remember Coach Joyner talking to us about it, and we talked about the ranking teams that would be there and, you know, the level of competition that would be there.
Just going and playing tremendous basketball teams. All of those teams were ranked in the USA Today national poll at that time.
Our first game was against a team out of California. That was a neat experience to get to play girls from across the nation, and they had a lot of good players. We still talked about, you know, like the things that they said and how they talked were a lot different than us.
We were fortunate to win the first game on a buzzer beater by Wendy Hartsfield.
And then Katie came down and shot, and I just came up from behind and got the offensive rebound and, you know, put it up.
The second game, we played the host Pickerington, and we had a rough time with that game.
You know, Pickerington, Ohio is one of the premier programs in the country at that time. They had LaToya Turner, who was an amazing post player, nothing like we had ever seen before.
They won the Ohio State Championship. They had a great player named LaToya Turner, a 6'3", 6'4", slender girl, could run the floor, shoot, you know, do it all. Played at Ohio State, was an All-American probably.
I remember playing Pickerington, and they were just on another level. I mean, the speed of the game, I remember it just being like, wow, you know, we've not faced anything like this before. They had so many weapons, like the three-point shooters or drivers, their post game. I just remember them being all around a really solid team.
But I think it showed the girls there's another level to play. We're pretty good, yes, we were. But there's another level that you can get to, and I think maybe that actually helped them get there.
The last team that we played was West Waterloo, Iowa, and they had a really big post player. And I say all that to say because later in the state tournament, we would face a really big post player, and I think that helped us.
I remember going back and watching film and watching Wendy boxing that girl out. It would be like a 10-year-old trying to box out an 18-year-old.
I do remember her, she was enormous. And I don't think we won that game, if I'm remembering correctly, but she really stands out.
You know, I think that would give us a reality check, because we lost 2 games up there. It definitely made us, hey, we need to rethink some things, work on some stuff.
I think looking back now as an adult, I realized that he took us there to challenge us. You know, the best teams that play any sport, their coach is going to schedule those games that are tough for them and that will hopefully prepare them
we knew we weren't going to play any teams that were that good in Tennessee.
But I think what helped us more long-term was there was a lot of media hype around that tournament. They would select a couple of girls, myself, would go and do post-game interviews, which we would later do in the state tournament. And I say that because during the state tournament, wasn't the first time they'd done it. So that was, I think, was good that they'd kind of been through that experience.
That certainly helped prepare us for the state tournament because of that environment. You know, when you have folks like Pat Head Summit, and there were other scouts in the stands as well, and you're going to be in that environment at the state tournament. And that can be so intimidating for kids. So I do definitely think it helped prepare us for that, no doubt.
Right, I can remember just walking in and just seeing the different college coaches, and I'll be honest, it was intimidating for me, and just seeing Pat Summit on the sidelines was like the coolest thing ever, because I definitely have her up on a pedestal, and you know, always have looked up to her and followed the Lady Vols.
When my kids got their picture made with her.
I remember not wanting to go up and meet her because I was just too, I don't know, I was too embarrassed, but we did have some of the people in our group that did end up getting a picture with her.
And that causes a lot of buzz when she's at a game, but a lot of people getting their picture made with her and that kind of thing.
You get there and you're like, oh wow, okay, all these scouts are here, all these different coaches. You know, I mean, you grow up watching these coaches coach. You know, I mean, who didn't grow up watching Pat Summit? I mean, come on.
But again, just a lot of time together, a lot of team building, and it was just a really good thing for us.
Coffee County was our last game of the district play that year.
We'd set a goal to go 12-0 in the district, had won 11 in a row.
District tournament's already set. We were the #1 seed.
I don't know what happened in that game, and I probably felt the same way that night. It's what just happened. This was his dream, a bad dream.
And it didn't go well that night.
Oh, and if I remember correctly, like no one was hitting their shots.
Coffee County, whew, I don't think any of us like to remember that game.
To be honest, we never really played well at Coffee County throughout my whole 4 years. And it was just one of those games. I'm not saying that we looked over it, but we did have that first place clinched already. And it was just like we could not do anything, and we couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It didn't matter what we did. It was just one of those nights that we could not get anything going.
Stottlemyre to Maxwell. Maxwell's inside, a turning out jumper.
I think it got in our heads at halftime. We were talking about, you know, the ball itself and whether it had, you know, bigger grips on it or like the rim was smaller. Like we were getting in our head about it. Just like what, you know, nobody's hitting any shots.
I don't even know if he could stand above the goal and drop it into the hole. I mean, that game fell apart offensively and defensively.
With 9 seconds to go, back to Goodwin to Luke. Goodwin threw it away, and Stottlemyre may have the last shot, a three. Good by Coffee County. A turnover turns into a three-point shot. Brooke Stottlemyre hit it. I think that'll be all on Katie as she tried to follow her shot and picked up her 5th foul.
Every great program has had losses, and those losses were valuable reasons they were champions.
I remember never wanting to feel like that again.
I feel like it happened for a reason. Just like I said, sometimes, you know, losing helps you refocus and get ready for the ultimate goal.
Even as painful as that was, I think it did a good job of kind of refocusing us there.
This game is done and over with. It's in the past. Let's move forward.
The district was going to be played at Manchester,
where we just got spanked.
I mean, I don't think anyone felt great about playing district tournaments in Coffee County.
which is a long way from Lawrenceburg, to have to drive a couple of nights during the week.
Like Coffee County, when our district started, you got to think, like on a bus, that's like a 3-hour drive.
And the district tournament ended up being at Coffee County, so we had to get rid of that in our mind, you know, and it was in our mind. It was like we never play good when we go to Coffee County. We never shoot well in the gym. The lighting was different.
I can remember being in those bleachers in Manchester, and it seems like they would go to the sky.
I mean, Shelbyville had ruled our district for so long.
Especially my freshman year, they were so good, and you know, they were just this powerhouse that no one could compete with.
They were always on top, and we always wanted to be the team that changed things for our district.
We went to Shelbyville when they were freshmen and sophomores and beat them on a night when we were not supposed to.
I believe it was my sophomore year, though, we beat Shelbyville for the first time in I don't know how many years. And this is one, I mean, It's probably when they had one of their best teams to ever come through there.
So Rick Insel, great coach. You know, I had grown up knowing about him coming from Franklin County. Franklin County and Shelbyville were always rivals, the Rebelettes, you know, against the Eagles. And then I did have my stepsister, Allison Clark. She played for them. She was a year ahead of me, so and there was a good group that came along with her too. Chrissy Davenport.
Goodwin's defense on Clark, the story of this first half. What, she got 2 points?
Yeah.
We had so much confidence in Kayla that, you know, she would always say, she took so much pride in her defense. Her goal was to hold the other team's best player to under 10 points, and she normally did that.
Coach Insel is probably one of the most knowledgeable high school basketball coaches, but he has a little bit of arrogance about him.
To me, I always loved being on the other end playing against him because it was an opportunity to beat him.
My favorite memory of Coach Insel had to be my freshman year because it was the first time we beat Shelbyville because we were shooting free throws on our end of the court, but he called some players over to his bench, some of his girls over while the free throws were going on, not during a timeout. I walked over there with him and he looked up and he's instructing them and kind of caught him off guard a little bit and he laughed. Then we ended up winning the game.
This game is over. Lawrence County has defeated Shelbyville. Look at the Lady Cats, how happy they are. Coach Rick Insel graciously comes over and gives a pat on the back to Coach Willie Joyner. The Lady Cats, a very happy group. The Lady Cats have broken the hearts of the Eagleettes here in Shelbyville, upsetting the #2 team in the state. Shelbyville has been #1 most of the year. The Shelbyville fans, usually so boisterous, now have their heads bowed very low as the Lady Cats have defeated the mighty Eagleettes from Shelbyville. Now, Jack, Lawrence County has not defeated Shelbyville, we know, in the 90s.
Well, I don't think they did in the 80s either. I think the last time probably was in the late 70s. I'm not sure, but I think when Marquita Shin and Janet Killen's team, Toby Flippo and all them were playing, I think.
One memory I do have after that game was Coach Joyner got on whatever table was in the locker room and surfed. And to me, that could have been a turning point for us to be, hey, we're a lot better than folks really think we are.
Okay, Katie really wants to win here because that year before last when the Lady Cats defeated Shelbyville, Coach Rick Insel told Katie it was luck. It'll never happen again. You know, Katie played over here with them in AAU.
Yep. I think that win let us know that we belong.
Shelbyville was down a little bit that year from what they normally were, but they were still a good basketball team, and they had gotten better as the year went on. They had a really good shooter that did a really good job, and she had just gotten better and better as the year went on. We had a really, really tight game with them in the opening of the district tournament. And it came down to free throws.
game they called a timeout and didn't have it, and they got a technical. Yeah. Oh, yeah, blessing. Blessing.
I think they called a timeout, and they were out of timeouts, which really worked in our favor because we got to go to the free throw line, and then we got the ball back. Brandy was a tremendous free throw shooter.
Yeah, Brandy Beam, certainly who we were going to put on the line.
Brandy's shooting 85% from the foul line, 51 out of 60. Isn't that something?
Brandy never really looked rattled. So, yeah, she would be the person to put on that line.
If we had a technical on the other team, Brandy was the one that was going to shoot that, but she was because she was the highest percentage. And that kind of sealed it, but it was a very, very close game, but it still meant a lot to beat Shelbyville. I mean, Shelbyville had ruled our district for so long. So beating Shelbyville that night put us in the district championship game. So we were waiting the winner of the 2-3 game, and it ended up it was Columbia.
Cats have defeated Columbia twice this year, but it gets a little tougher each time, don't it, Jim?
And it's true, it's tough to beat somebody 3 times.
Jack Harlow was their coach, and I feel like he always got the very best. I think he squeezed every ounce of talent out of every player he ever had. And he was very strategic.
Anytime we played Columbia, Coach Harlow obviously is their coach. And so I know what a great coach he is. And so I was always a little nervous maybe playing them. He knew me and the player I was, and I knew a lot of the Columbia girls as well. I'd played AAU ball with some of them. So those were always tough games for sure.
I remember playing against the same girls, in middle school. They played for Whitthorne, and those battles started early, and then we went on to play against each other in high school, and I ended up being college teammates with Lindsay Wilson and also Tabitha Napier that played for Columbia. We played together at Columbia State. It
was a close game. It was just, Columbia really liked to slow it down and try to dictate the pace, and they were good at doing that.
Okay, here goes Saxon driving. A layup good by Mel. One lead. Here's Brandy Bean. Brandy gives to Katie Smith. Katie got a layup good, and she's fouled by Alexander.
I remember at half, we had not played that well, and we were getting ready to go back out for the second half. And I remember Brandy just telling everybody right before we went out the door, look, they are not going to beat us tonight. And that did me a lot of good to hear her say that, but that just told me how determined that they were.
Low scoring game, 29-27. Here's a pass in there to Hartsfield. Wendy's layup is good.
A low scoring game, so every point was important, but the one basket that I remember that kind of punched us out, nobody had scored there for a while. We come down, we swing the ball around. Kayla just really didn't shoot that much.
Katie flying down the court. Katie is gonna stop, give back to Kayla Goodwin, who is open. Boom, shot good, a 3-point shot.
But she buries a 3 that puts us up, gives us a little cushion.
1:13 to go. Lady Cats trying to win the district championship the first time in 27 years.
And, we were able to hit free throws and finish that game out.
The game is over. Lawrence County has won the district championship. The Lady Cats defeat Columbia for the 3rd time this year. Final score, 36 to 29. 36 to 29, the Lady Cats win the championship for the first time in 27 years. I just remember part of those people. I broadcast that game. I remember Ruth Kruger, what a great player. Beth George, Janet Jacobs. Also, Patty Hill was on that team. And hey, Margie Mann played a big part. Jill Powell, great guard, and Pat Brewer. Linda Baxter out of West Highland. Boy, what a great, great team that was. Here are the Lady Cats giving their coach a big hug as Lawrence County has won the district championship.
First time in a long time, yeah, I think since '71, and that was just a tremendous, tremendous boost for us.
We were so excited after winning that game because it was the game that got us over the hump that we've been trying to get over for the previous 2 years.
Won the district tournament for the first time since 1971, and I don't believe I've ever seen this bunch as excited as they were that night. They were hooping and hollering more that night than they were at the state tournament.
Yeah, they did something by winning District 8 AAA. Yeah, to me, one of the top 2 strongest, if not the strongest district in the state at that time.
I feel like if we had lost that game, I'm not saying we would have given up, but I know that winning it, you know, that was the first step, and we knew, you know, if we win that game, that we set ourselves up, you know, well for advancing in the region tournament.
Deep down, I guess we knew there was more to go, but I feel like we did do a great job of living in the moment, at the moment when we would win those championships that we hadn't done before and just really enjoying them. I remember that.
While District 8 AAA may have been the toughest district in the state, District 7 was not far behind. White County ranked number 1 in the state, and Riverdale, number 9.
District 7 was really strong as well. White County was in that district, had won that district, so they were a really strong district.
As always, the first 2 games of the regional tournament would be elimination games. By defeating Columbia in the district championship, Lawrence County would avoid seeing number 1 White County in an elimination game in the tournament. But as you'll see, the first 2 games were way too close for comfort for the Lady Cats and their fans. With Lawrence County as the 1 seed from District 8, they would face the number 4 seed from 7. That would be Lebanon.
One thing about the Lebanon game, the quarterfinal game of the regional tournament, is that we were able to jump out early. I think it was 22-0 that we opened the game up, and that's unusual. And from that point on, Lebanon actually outscored us, which is concerning.
Lebanon outscored Lawrence County in each of the final 3 quarters. The Lady Cats hit their free throws down the stretch and won the opening round of the regional tournament by a final score of 47 to 38.
You know, going up 22-0 against Lebanon, and then all of a sudden we decided not to score very many more points, and we still won by 9.
Elsewhere in the region, Riverdale would end the season for Rick Insell and Shelbyville, which set up a regional semifinal matchup between the Lady Cats and the Lady Warriors.
So when we advanced to the semifinals of the regional tournament, we were going to face a really, really good Murfreesboro Riverdale team. They were very athletic, out of District 7.
But yeah, with Riverdale, I mean, it was a battle from the beginning with them.
I just remember the Riverdale game being a really close game that definitely could have went either way. And, you know, that region semi game, that's the big one with a do or die situation. You don't ever know how you're going to shoot. You know, you don't ever know how the pressure is going to get to your team. That's the one that when they say survive in advance, I mean, you do have to survive that one. I mean, that's the big one. And I just remember that game being close and thinking, you know, it could be over, but we did not want our season to end.
It was a really competitive game. Came down to the free throws. We had lost the lead very late in the game.
What, like 14 seconds or something left on the game? Kayla shoots, misses, I get the rebound, get fouled, go to the free throw line.
Mel had to go to the free throw line with just a few seconds left, shooting a 1-and-1. We were down 1. I think it was 41-40, if I remember correctly.
But, you know, I remember, give me the ball, I stepped at the line, I'm ready, let's do this.
They called timeout, of course, to try to ice her a little bit. And, you know, that's one of those things in the timeout you say, now look, when Mel hits her free throws, this is what we're going to do on defense. And then you're you've got confidence, but then there again, you know, she went out and did it.
Now, it was a big thing for us is practicing our free throws, and I would like to say that I thought we were a pretty good free throw shooting team.
We come back on the defensive end. They run a good set. They get a good look, but they didn't hit it. We were able to get the rebound and secure that win, which put us into the region finals, which puts you into the sub-state. So that was a really, really big game. And that's one of those, when you look back, it's when you really realize how special and how fortunate you are, because that game goes south and it's over.
Talking about Mel Saxon right in this gym, or we wouldn't be here. Those 2 free throws she made against Riverdale in the region semis.
In what may have been the biggest surprise of the Region 4 AAA tournament, Columbia would upset the #1 ranked team in the state, White County. As a result, that would pit the Lady Cats against the Lady Lions for the 4th time in the 97-98 season.
That was fortunate for us because we were going to have a hard time matching up as well with White County, I felt, than we did with Columbia.
You have that thought deep down, okay, oh, can you beat them 3 times in a year? Okay, now here it is. Can you beat them 4 times in a year? I think we were all a little nervous because it's hard to beat a team 4 times in a year, especially a good team, and Columbia was a very good team.
Foxy Griffin and Jack Keywood from Murphy Center. Lawrence County defeated Columbia in November 46-36. Later 51-47. Then last week the Lady Cats won 36-29.
We wanted to host a sub-state game. We wanted to win a region championship, and to be able to do that, we were going to be playing Columbia for the 4th time.
Here goes Mel Saxon spinning her layup. Good. What a move by Saxon. A 360 spin down on the baseline, and she put it up softly off the glass in Lawrence County with the early lead.
It was a typical game for us in Columbia. It was slow. They really tried to slow the pace down.
Boy, they love a slow game. 5:50 left in the first quarter. And the first quarter score, Lawrence County 8, Columbia 2. Have the ball slapped loose. Latavia Goodman got a screen. Wilson layup good. And here come the Lady Lions. Columbia can go up. Here's a 3 by Sarah Stout. Good! With 10 seconds to go. Here's a shot by Columbia. Bouncing in and out, no good. A jump ball with 3 seconds to go.
I mean, there was just like a second or 2 left. And we threw it the length of the floor, and it got knocked out of bounds, which helped us.
Yeah, they have it on the side and maybe able to get a shot off. Okay, the Lady Cats ready to go. Mel Saxon gonna stop, jump, her shot. Good! What about a 3 by Mel Saxon. What about We're tied at 15-15.
She caught it and shot it falling and hit a 3. And I can still remember Coach Harlow just going, he just dropped his hands because it was like they had the momentum. And that shot really helped us going into half. It really did.
Now, Columbia had all the momentum going into halftime. Lawrence County had the ball on the far end of the floor with just 3 seconds left and wound up getting the 3-point shot off after Columbia knocked it out of bounds in the front court. And instead of Columbia going into the locker room with the momentum, Lawrence County goes in with the momentum. That's a big play. Katie needs help. Mel Saxon's layup, good, and a foul. Saxon's going to drive in there, give off to Brandy. Brandy's layup, good.
I want to say we were down early in the 4th quarter by about 3 or 4 points.
And the quarter ends. It is Columbia 26, Lawrence County 23.
We'd come through the district and didn't really think we'd played like we were capable of doing. And with about 5 minutes left to go in the Columbia ball game, it kicked in. And those of you that were with us, you know that from that point on, I mean, it was just some unreal basketball that these ladies played from that point to the next week and a half.
Hartsfield's going to dribble in the crowd, put it up, good. Maybe draw the foul. Here's Kayla Goodwin, her shot, good. Big bucket by Goodwin from the corner. Saxon goes inside to Brandy. Brandy got 3, layup, good. Oh, it's a game of inches. Wilson nearly had a hand on it. She might have touched it, but Bean was able to strongly grab it and get the bucket, and Lawrence County's up by 3.
And it was typical for us that really kind of what turned the game around was just defensive pressure, forcing some turnovers.
Steal steal by Katie Smith. Katie's going to drive down there. Layup good. She beat Alexander to the bucket. And Lawrence County is run out by 5. Latavia Goodman. A steal. Katie Smith got it. 2.5 minutes to go. Lady Cats leading right here. Katie's going to jump, shoot, good. Katie Smith hit a big jumper. Lawrence County's up by 10. Brandy's free throw, good. She's got 9 now.
Lawrence County on a 17-4 run. Was this going to be win number 28, Foxy?
Yeah, against 3 losses.
I need to check it, but I think it's the most in school history.
Here's the buzzer. Lawrence County has won the region championship. The final score is 47-31. 47-31. Lawrence County a winner. Boy, what a big, big win for the Lady Cats. We're going to talk with Coach Willie Joyner right now. Coach Joyner.
What about it, Coach? Hey, I tell you, we thank the Lord for this win. It's tremendous. I keep saying this, but they keep getting better. And, you know, to beat Columbia, which is a fine basketball team, for the 4th time. And, I'd love to play them a 5th time, Jackie, because if we meet them again, it had to be in the state tournament. So I'd love to be able to do that.
Boy, I tell you what, a classy interview from a classy guy, Coach Willie Joyner.
I'll say it again, Foxy, good things happen to good people, and you're not going to find anybody better than that guy. Sub-state game at Lawrence County High School, and Coach Joyner's looking for a big crowd. I believe there'll be one.
We come off of that tremendous win over Columbia in the region championship, and that was on a Thursday night, so we're going to be hosting the game on Saturday. One game, 7 o'clock that night. We're going to play Cumberland County. But I just remember that whole day just wanting to play. I remember coming over here that morning, just walking around in the gym, because I just needed to get out of the house. Just still the momentum from that region championship, you just wanted to play again.
I mean, that was like our goal once we got to that region championship, is we wanted to host sub-state.
I'll tell you, the sub-state game was fun.
Everybody, you know, at the games seemed to just come for the boys' game. And we were excited that they were finally starting to show up and come to the girls' games now to watch, and not just showing up, you know, at halftime or whatever, kind of getting late to our games. So this was going to be like our time to shine. It was going to be our chance. It's just us. And we packed that gym.
But it seemed like I was on the balcony up there when their team came in, and they went down those stairs right over in the corner to the girls' dressing room. All the sub-state sectionals back then started at 7. And when they came in, the gym was full. And it was like 5:45. And the gym was literally full. The band was already playing. The cheerleaders were cheering. The people were just screaming. And the coach came in, and I could read his lips. He said, "Oh my goodness." And you could tell right there, I said right then, they're beat.
And I think it was a 7 o'clock game time, and I had the band here by 5:30. 6 o'clock when the doors opened, this place was cram-packed full. And I remember thinking, wow, they're beat before they even get off the bus.
You know, they had to bring out the extra bleachers on both sides, and they were just everywhere and so loud. There is no way I would want to be that other team. play.
Wow. And I remember thinking, like, this poor team that's coming in to play us, like, bless them.
Bless their hearts. They didn't have a chance.
You know, these stands were all filled and those bleachers filled. The only empty part was behind the opponent's bench. It looked really sad over there.
They promised us that if we would host a sub-state game, they would pull both of the end bleachers out. They did that for us, and they pulled out both ends, and our student section got to be underneath the basket.
I remember, you know, Miss Wright wanted us to look, you know, very posh, lots of people here. And so we all decided we were going to wear bodysuits, right? Which were like then a version of like the hottest turtleneck that you can ever imagine. I mean, we were roasting. It was so hot.
You know, one of those signs, taken off to the state on the jets. I remember that sign very, very well.
I remember running out a big tunnel of balloons.
They had made like a balloon arch for us to run out. They got the smoke machine for us to run out.
For the sub-state game, when we ran out of that tunnel over there, just that feeling, I mean, We were like on top of the world, like nobody could beat us.
It was an NCAA Final Four championship atmosphere in this place, and the house was rocking.
This is probably the biggest sporting event Lawrence County High School's ever had on this campus. You know, there might have been bigger events, state tournaments, other things in the past, but as far as on our campus here at Lawrence County, this is probably the biggest event we've ever had.
Cumberland County had to be intimidated. We ruined any hope that they had from the get-go.
Three, in and out, no good. Hartsfield goes high for the rebound. Good.
Oh, 7 points, Wendy Hartsfield, 7-2 right here. She looks like she is absolutely ready to play.
To Mel Saxon. Saxon back to Brandy, open at the free throw line. Good.
Quarter was about to come to an end. Katie throws one up from about right here.
I was just right at the half-court line, but I know I was on the side of that the benches were on.
In there, we got time for one shot from half court. Katie Smith puts it up. Here! Knocked it down from half court. 3 points, Katie Smith. Banked it in. 26-11, Lawrence County at the end of the first quarter.
We'll be back in 1 minute.
Shot at the buzzer, knocked the bottom out. The place went crazy. Game was over. I mean, you could have just eliminated the last 3 quarters and gone on.
And it goes in, and I can still see the girls coming off the floor, and I'm looking at Katie, and we just kind of grin at each other because it's like, this is going to be a pretty good night.
You know, it's one of those nights.
And then the other team, I felt sorry for them when they were shooting free throws on the other end.
Cumberland County's had a miserable night at the free throw line. Yeah, we got a lot of kids on that end with their pom-poms behind the basket, really creating havoc back there and getting a lot of fun out of watching them miss.
Cats lead right here. Katie Smith starts in, gives to Brandy Bean.
Boom! 3-pointer from the left wing. Oh, if everybody's hot right now. Let's just keep it going for 4 quarters and go to Murfreesboro next week.
Cats really play good. Here's Kim Lupa. Turn around.
Good. There's a steal. Katie Smith out front going down for the layup. Good.
Halftime score. Lawrence County 44, Cumberland County 23.
Didn't realize that the local radio station was going to talk to Coach Clark, but that was a very young Coach Clark that we got to spend that year together, and I loved it. I mean, he was just such a great guy. He's a great guy. He still works here. He's helping with our girls basketball even now. And I know Jackie Cheatwood interviewed him at halftime of our game, and again, I didn't see this till afterwards. You know, Jackie looks at him and says, "Hey, what kind of advice would you have for Cumberland County?"
That Jackie Cheatwood had asked him and said, you know, if you were the other coach, you know, what would be your strategy going into this second half?
And Jackie opened up and he said, well, Coach Clark, he said, you're the Cumberland County coach right now. He said, what are you doing about this time? Coach Clark, typical of what you've already seen tonight, he said, well, I believe I'd be starting the bus.
If you were Cumberland County's coach, let me ask you a couple of questions here. What do you think you might try to do? Looks like they got some good players. They just caught up in the atmosphere, I think.
I might start warming up the bus, Jackie. It's about over for them.
I think I would be warming up the bus.
Better start the bus.
Be warming up the bus.
Go ahead and crank the bus.
Yeah, that was a funny interview to listen to.
Of course, she does that all the time. Katie Smith on the drive. Beautiful feed, Brandy Bean for the layup. Beautiful penetration and feed by Katie Smith. Katie, a long pass down to Mel Sack. Beautiful feed. The one-way. Oh, man. Good. This is good NBA stuff tonight. Beautiful feed from Mel Sacks and blind feed to Kayla Goodwin wide open for the layup. This is something to watch. Here we go. 64-34. Lady Cats with a lead. Wendy Hodgfield got it. She'll jump. Her shot good. Yeah, 6 footers. That was something else. Here's a steal. Katie Smith on a long pass. Feed to Kayla Goodwin. Layup. Good.
It's the loudest it's ever been in this gymnasium, that game. I mean, it was so cool.
I mean, they just never did let up. And we were able to win that game easily, but that just enabled the whole gym just to have a great night. And not only were we going to get to go to the state tournament, but just having that huge home crowd here, you know, looking back, in some ways, that was even more special than the state tournament because it was our folks and it was our gym.
Katie Smith, Brandy Bean, and Kayla Goodwin come out for standing ovation.
Oh, this is exciting. This is emotional for the kids. They still know they got next week. I don't think they're going to be happy to be in the state tournament. Just be there. I think they're going to want to go up there and play. And we got an awful used to Murphy Center after this effort tonight. I tell you what, it could be an interesting week next week in Murfreesboro.
As the game ended, you know, our student section was sitting in the bleachers that used to be behind me here. They came down on the court, just hugging the girls and celebrating with the girls, but started cutting the nets down. Nobody left. I mean, this place was still packed with people.
Because, of course, we cut down the nets, and it was the first time any of us had ever experienced cutting down the nets, and we didn't know how to cut a net down. It's not something that had been done, you know, in our lifetimes.
Being able to cut that net down, and that was something that we talked about too as a team, was just being able to cut the net down. We thought that was so cool, and we had seen other people do it, and that's something that we wanted to do.
The band was playing. We didn't leave. I guess it was 10 o'clock before I dismissed the band because we stayed for the cutting down the nets, and we played the fight song 11 times that night.
You know, everybody got a chance to get up there and cut a piece of that net, and then the net's over my right shoulder here.
And it was super cool, and I believe the net is right here, so that we cut off.
That was the momentum that got them, I think, all the way through. Winning like that, getting the crowd behind them, and then when we showed up at Murphy Center, we filled the place up. You know, all that, I think, was just a continuation of that one night. It was awesome.
Last game of our senior year on this court, and we went out with a bang. I mean, you know, at that moment, I mean, it's getting real. We're going to the state tournament.